Ladies and gentlemen, these kind of stories make me sick. It makes me sick. I'm glad these men in Baltimore got their freedom, but these stories makes my ass sick. Number one, it does not take 36 years to find out whether a person is innocent or not. These things are being done to our men, especially our men, because they are the number one exonerated man in this country. And it just goes to show you the level of what they go through to get us in jail at all costs. This is one of those things that primarily happens to Black men more than any other man up in this society. And there's a standing pattern of taking decades to get them out of prison when they are in there for murder. A lot of times it's murders and rapes that never happened, armed burglaries. They're usually, the heavy duty felons, uh, a felony type crime that will keep them in there for damn near a lifetime. And all of a sudden, decades later, you're innocent and they're letting you go. But look at what they got out of you during that time period in jail. This is a deliberate act. If it was not a deliberate act, we would not see it so often. We see this often, ladies and gentlemen, because this is a deliberate act. This is being done on purpose. It's one thing if it's maybe a handful of people, but when you start seeing a pattern of this every single year, this is a deliberate act. This came out in People. 3 Baltimore men wrongfully convicted of murder, exonerated after 36 years in prison. It don't take anybody that long to find out whether somebody is innocent or not. And ladies and gentlemen, this is a very systematic thing because in many cases, the prosecution, the police officer, they have the right evidence that could exonerate these people at trial, and they bury the evidence just so they can score a conviction. They get money for the arrest they make. This is why there's no concern for putting innocent people in jail, especially if those innocent people look like the ones you see in this picture. Then there's no regard for putting them in there innocent. They don't care. America has never cared about jailing innocent people. They've been jailing innocent people in this country since jails existed. The practice of putting innocent people in there started from day one, and it has never stopped. I want you to think about that. Remember, jails went up in this country right after chattel slavery because they had no intentions on really letting us go. And plus, you would never put in your constitution that if anybody commits a crime, they go back to a slave status. If you really intended on getting rid of slavery, you would never have written anything like that into your constitution. So that tells you right there, they never had any intentions on letting us really, truly go. Then this is why the cops are still on the streets acting just like their plantation police forefathers. Same attitude towards us and everything. So this came out in People November 26, 2019. After nearly 4 decades spent behind bars, serving time for a murder they didn't commit. 3 Maryland men are going home. This is so damn sick. Alfred Chestnut, Ransom Watkins, and Andrew Stewart have been officially exonerated of the murder of DeWitt Duckett in 1993. Baltimore State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby announced on Monday. You know, she is at least trying to do something to correct this stuff because she's even fighting the bogus charges that cops have put on the citizens in Maryland. She's fighting that. You don't see or hear about any other attorney general in this country doing that. Circuit Court Judge Charles Peters released the men from prison, but not before apologizing for the system's mistake. The Baltimore Sun reported. These aren't mistakes, ladies and gentlemen. See, it's a mistake if you see maybe a handful of these happen. We see this happen consistently every single year, every single month, every single week. There's a new exoneration story coming out. These are not mistakes. At this point, we can't even call these mistakes. This is recklessness. And they don't care about this, because if they really did, the entire society would not tolerate innocent people going to jail. And it's very much tolerated in America. On the behalf of the criminal justice system, and I'm sure this means very little to you, gentlemen, I'm going to apologize, Peter told the men Monday night after wiping out their convictions, the outlet said. Chestnut, Watkins, and Stewart were arrested on Thanksgiving Day in 1983 for the murder of Duckett, who was a 14-year-old ninth grader at the time of his death. NBC News reported the 3 men, who were themselves teenagers at the time, were sentenced to life in prison the following year. And see, ladies and gentlemen, they got the system set up in America to where anything, especially a black male, and even really black women and black children say, is not believed. They got it all rigged up that way. Anything you say, you will even notice this on jobs. And even in school, if you're dealing with these people, and if you tell them the truth about something, they choose to believe the negative. They choose to believe the negative. They have this built-in attitude, and this is all by design. They can't make you guilty of any and everything unless they put out here to the world that you have a credibility problem. But it is not us with that credibility problem. Who's making all of these errors in putting innocent people in jail? Those are the ones that should have the credibility problem up in here, and no one else. The 3 men, who were themselves teenagers at the time, wow, they have been sitting in jail from the time they weren't even men. They were still in their teens, not even men. And now you are letting them out and they're in what, middle age? That's outrageous to do that to somebody. But again, America has no issue with doing this. They have been doing this since prisons have existed to us. Duckett was shot in the neck inside of his middle school, which the 3 older boys had been visiting earlier in the day, according to CNN. Stewart was 17 at the time, and Chestnut and Watkins were both 16. So they've been sitting in jail since the ages of 17 and 16. And oh, my bad, you're innocent 36 years later. Ooh, y'all can go straight to hell with this stuff. Duckett was reportedly attacked over his Georgetown University basketball jacket. Chestnut owned a similar jacket, which investigators found in his bedroom and used as evidence for his alleged guilt, despite the fact that Chestnut's jacket had no blood on it. See, you see what I mean? The cops go in your bedroom, get a jacket that says University of Georgetown, has no evidence on it, but they present it as evidence that leads to you going to jail. And no matter what you say, everybody else is believed over you. Again, they rigged up the system to be that way, ladies and gentlemen. They rigged it up to be that way. At this point, nobody should have a credibility issue other than the ones that consistently keep doing these things. His mother provided a receipt, and an employee from the store where she purchased it testified that she had bought the jacket recently. Chestnut filed an information request earlier this year, CNN reported, which led to the discovery that evidence had been withheld. See, this is what I'm talking about. They knew they were innocent back in 1983. This is how they get so many innocent people in jail, y'all. They withhold evidence from the defense team during their trial. I said this in the beginning. This is how it's done. This is how it's done. You take the evidence that proves them innocent and you hide that evidence. Cops do this. Prosecutors do this. This is practiced heavily in America. Withholding evidence, heavily practiced, is as common as them lying on police reports. And plus, planting evidence is also heavily practiced in America. Mosby said Monday that among the evidence kept from the defense attorneys at the time were anonymous calls that identified another shooter. So once they get the innocent people in jail, they stop looking for the actual guilty party. Okay, so during the trial, evidence was withheld and the name of the actual shooter was provided, but all of that was kept away from the defense. That sounds like some dirty shit. So this alleged criminal system you got set up is criminal itself. The entire entity is criminal. Who was allegedly seen wearing Duckett's jacket and even confessed to the murder, according to the outlet. Okay, so you had someone confess to the murder. You disregarded all of that and went after three innocent men and put them in the jail. So you had everything you needed to free these three men back in 1983, and you blatantly ignored it. See, when prosecutors and cops do that, they themselves should go to jail. You had evidence that proved someone was innocent and you let them go to jail for 36 years anyway, you should go to jail. But I want you to notice how they rigged up the system for the people that lie can always get away with doing it if they work in law enforcement. If they lie, they can always get away with it in this system. They don't bring no charges up on these prosecutors and cops that fabricate lies to get people in jail. The system is rigged. It's rigged. Whew, I hate these stories. And I hate the fact that there are people that hate us so much, so deeply, they will fabricate shit and feel no remorse about it. I bet you the prosecution and the police officers that did this initial arrest think they were good at their jobs. I bet you they walk around to this day believing they were good at their jobs. It's like having demons in control. That's all it is. It's evil. They, performed their duties with evil intent in their heart the entire time they were in their careers. And they ultimately just destroyed lives of innocent people that had nothing to do with the crimes they were convicted for. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is allowed to go on in America to this very day, which tells me they are not sorry about none of it. This is the sick nature of the beast. But y'all, please tell me what you think about this story. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace, family.